What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. AEW Revolution is this Sunday, so what twists and turns should AEW fans expect on last night's Dynamite? Join us now as we look at the second March edition of AEW's flagship show, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Tony Khan buys Ring of Honor, Triple H not returning to WWE for some time, WWE cuts its ties with Russia, fans furious with Nia Jax, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. As always, we won't recap the matches, but just look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as number one, the big announcement. Tony Khan's big announcement lived up to the fans' expectations as the AEW president revealed that Ring of Honor is all elite. AEW has done a good job making sure it delivers when it promises something big, which only puts the pressure on the company to continue delivering, and deliver it did. Khan's mic skills may be bad or pretty much downright ugly depending on your opinion, but his excitement was genuine, and the booking of Bryan Danielson vs Christopher Daniels as the show's opening match as both men competed in a triple threat match at Ring of Honor's kickoff show, The Era of Honor Begins. Number 2, brilliant build-up for the pay-per-view. The last night's show featured plenty of action and enticing segments, but most of all, it did well at getting fans interested in the pay-per-view. With AEW relying on the pay-per-view model, it's essential that it motivates fans to part with their hard-earned money, and as fans in the US know, AEW shows run $49.95. AEW made sure every match on the show got mentioned and featured a match or angle to build it up. That's booking 101, and judging from AEW's buy rates, it's been paying off. We will be recapping the show on Sunday, so be sure to look out for that. Number 3, predictable but perfectly executed. First things first, MJF's shocking attack on CM Punk was anything but shocking, but it was brilliantly executed as MJF's mind games gave Punk a reason to doubt himself for a moment over whether his exit from the grappling game in 2014 was responsible for MJF's existence. AEW made sure to have Punk say he wasn't sure if he was buying MJF's song and dance, showing Punk isn't a fool, but that MJF is the master manipulator. MJF's bloody beatdown on Punk was a sensational setup for Sunday's dog collar match, as the fans will have no sympathy for the salt of the earth while Punk pummels him. Number 4, build up for Wardlow turn continues. Last night's interaction between Wardlow and his handler Shawn Spears continued the tease over just when the big man will reach his boiling point and destroy Spears and MJF. Don't be surprised to see Wardlow play a key role in the MJF vs Punk dog collar match, as Wardlow's disdain for MJF's treatment of him galvanizes him into abandoning MJF. Number 5, Max Caster raps on Glenn Jacobs. Max Caster has quickly become one of AEW's most interesting performers, a talented performer whose battle raps are amusing as well as, well, controversial. This week, Caster took aim at Glenn Jacobs, aka former superstar Kane, over the Knoxville County Mayor's controversial tweet regarding the invasion of Ukraine. You might remember Jacobs' tweet, but in case you missed it, Caster rapped the following before Dynamite's Casino Tag Team Battle Royal. FTR, you ain't safe, I'ma send your asses to Ring of Honor. Top flight can't be victorious, y'all are drinking like the kids on Euphoria. We're the reason for people in these seats. Y'all are less popular than Glenn Jacobs' tweet. The Caster dissed Vladimir Putin last week, which goes to show you never can tell who will be the victim of Caster's scathing raps. Number 6, Jericho promo. Is he actually turning heel? The build-up to the Jericho vs Eddie Kingston match at Revolution has been strong, largely due to the powerful promos between the two veterans. However, could Jericho be preparing for a heel turn? His scathing comments on Kingston suggest Jericho's ego is getting the best of him, and fans could be in store for Jericho embracing his heel persona that he certainly excels at. And number 7, women's division continues to improve. You've come a long way, baby. If ever an advertising slogan was fit for AEW's women's division, that's it, as AEW's women have gone from weekly blunders to weekly wonders. Sure, there's plenty of room to improve, but AEW has a strong core of women wrestlers, and it continues to improve, as seen by the caliber of matches on last night's show and the ones booked for Sunday's pay-per-view. But that was good. What about the bad? As number 1, another tag team mess. AEW had an amazing array of tag teams, but battle royals are not the way to build them up. Last week's battle royal was a mess, and this week's was no better, as an assortment of teams fought to get a spot in Sunday's AEW World Tag Team Championship match. As dull as a tag team battle royal was, the real problem is that it exposes AEW's inescapable problem: too much talent and not enough television time to feature them, despite the promotion's talent at making the most of its television time. And number 2, a meh main event. Our last night's trios match was a meh main event, despite the post-match beatdown doing well to hype Adam Cole challenging Hangman Adam Page for the AEW World Championship at Revolution. All 6 wrestlers can work well, but the Dark Order's John Silver and Alex Reynolds, as well as Fish and O'Reilly, don't belong in the main event, especially the Dark Order, which still hasn't recovered from the loss of Mr. Brody Lee. Now, there was nothing ugly about last night's episode, as Dynamite delivered a strong build for its pay-per-view, along with some great matches and angles to keep the fans excited. Dynamite continues to make the most of its 2-hour format despite the promotion's overabundance of talent. What did you think of Dynamite last night? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Our first story looks at Tony Khan buying Ring of Honor. Topping today's headlines is a huge announcement that Tony Khan has purchased Ring of Honor. And how much did he buy it for? Well, Cassidy Haynes of BodySlam.net reported that it's between $30 to $40 million. Now, you may recall rumors that Sinclair Broadcasting was looking to sell the promotion, and now the deal has been confirmed. Khan has acquired the assets of Ring of Honor Wrestling Entertainment LLC from Sinclair Broadcast Group, including the promotion's extensive video library dating back to 2002, brand assets, intellectual property, production equipment, and more. Meltzer discussed who Ring of Honor contacted about the sale. Obviously, both WWE and AEW were contacted when the idea was to sell the company, and AEW was the one that obviously made the better offer to the two and got the company. However, despite Meltzer's language, PW Insider reports Tony Khan has bought Ring of Honor and not AEW. Khan's purchase includes Ring of Honor tape library, and just the WWE's purchase of ECW and WCW gave it access to thousands of hours of wrestling programming. There's speculation AEW plans on using it in a similar manner. Meltzer commented, "The tape library is very valuable to AEW because they want to do some sort of a streaming service, whether they sell something to HBO Max or do their own streaming service in some form. The amount of library with a lot of wrestlers, including one of the keys to that library is Ring of Honor owned the All In show, which is an important part of the history of AEW. Also, it had all kinds of tapes of Bryan Danielson and a lot of other wrestlers, the Young Bucks, some of Kenny Omega, Jay Lethal. There have been rumors of AEW starting a streaming service, but given the promotion's short run, it doesn't have much to offer. That could change with the Ring of Honor library, and it could even lead to AEW eventually moving its pay-per-views to a streaming service." Next up, Ric Flair and Triple H no longer friends? Now, are Nature Boy Ric Flair and Triple H on the outs? Well, Ric Flair recently was asked on his new podcast what Triple H's current relationship with the WWE is since Helmsley took time off for medical reasons. Flair answered, "He and I were incredibly close, and now I never hear from him, so I don't know." Flair and Triple H were once the best of friends, with the game vocal in how Flair influenced his career, and Flair in turn thanking Helmsley for helping him get his self-confidence back in the ring when they teamed alongside Batista and Randy Orton in Evolution. Might Triple H's silence just be a case of the wrestler focusing his recovery from his recent cardiac incident, or do you think there's more to the story? But whilst we're on the subject, Triple H may not be returning to WWE for some time. A wrestling cerebral assassin was heavily involved with NXT, but Vince McMahon's recent restructuring of the brand led to drastic changes, which had fans wondering whether Helmsley had any say in the brand. This has become a moot point after Tripp suffered a cardiac event last September, and now there's talk he may not be back in NXT for a long time, if ever. PW Insider is reporting that Laceta Pineda, one of Helmsley's allies in NXT, was recently released. Pineda worked extremely close to Paul Levesque in a role described to PW Insider as Levesque's top executive assistant, so without him around, some of the company have relayed to us it was probably just a matter of time before she exited, as Levesque has still yet to return to full-time work for the company since dealing with his heart issues, and without him there, her role was limited at best. Cultaholic followed up on the news with this observation saying, "Discussions also arose about the game's future with the company, with some question if it'll ever come back, partly because people who used to be in constant contact with Triple H haven't spoken to him in some time. Pineda's exit has also been perceived as a sign that Triple H won't be returning for some time. Do you think Triple H will return? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, WWE cuts ties with Russia. Add the WWE to the growing number of businesses who aren't tolerating Russia's invasion of Ukraine. WWE.com announced recently that WWE has terminated its partnership with Russian broadcaster Match and shut down the WWE network in Russia effective immediately. The move eliminates access in Russia to any WWE programming, including the company's weekly Raw, SmackDown and NXT shows on its on-demand library, and all of its premium live events, including WrestleMania 38. And finally, fans are furious with Nia Jax. And last but not least, it looks like former superstar Nia Jax's recent social media comments about the Russian invasion of Ukraine could take some heat off Kane after his own remarks were blasted by some for being insensitive. Jax mentioned on Instagram, all these MFs saying I stand with Ukraine couldn't even stand for their own personal rights for 2 years because they were scared to breathe. And Nia Jax may be done with wrestling, at least that's her current status, but the former superstar has a lot to say on social media, whether it's her time in WWE, the debate over the effectiveness of masks to reduce the spread of COVID, or the current crisis in Ukraine. Well, one thing's for sure, Nia Jax may be the first superstar to suffer CTE while injuring other wrestlers. But there you have it, folks. I'll look at this week's edition of Dynamite as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.